Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today about this roundtable discussion about the child tax credit. I'm very excited and very passionate about the child tax credit because I know how much of a difference it will make to our families in New Mexico and our families across this country. So 2 months ago, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan into law to get shots in the arms, money in pockets, and deliver the relief that our families need to get through this pandemic. What I love is that there is a focus in the American Rescue Plan on families. There is a focus on our children and our future. I always say that we invest in what we believe in, and the American Rescue Plan shows that we believe in our future because it's an investment in our children. As I said, the child tax credit is something that I advocated for. I would love to see it permanent, but what I want to do right now is make sure that everybody who is entitled to the child tax credit receives it. And so that's one of the reasons we're having this webinar, is to make sure that the word gets out about its benefits. And we wanted to bring together those voices that are directly impacted or working on issues regarding the child tax credit. So for those who don't know precisely, what the child tax credit does is says, listen, families know best what their children need. And so what we need to do is provide a child tax credit to all families. Now, the child tax credit has been around for a while, but unfortunately, it didn't reach all families. It didn't reach every working family, and so it was limiting in that way. What we did in the American Rescue Plan was expand the child tax credit, so now it's available to all families, and especially poor and working families. And it's will help provide each family, for each child they have, $300 a month for children ages 0 to 5, and $250 a month for children ages 6 to 17. So in our state alone, this is going to positively impact the future of 244,000 children will benefit. In my district, 92% of children will gain from the expanded and improved child tax credit. That's about 140,000 children. We're helping 140,000 children. It will lift 9,900 children out of poverty. Because of the bigger benefit for our youngest children, 3,800 kids under the age of 6 will be raised out of poverty. Imagine that. That's transformational. So one of the things I want to make sure happen is that everybody who is eligible for the tax credit receives it. And to get it, what you need to do is file your taxes by May 17th. Now, some of you might not need to file your federal taxes because you don't owe taxes, because your earnings don't trigger a payment. File your taxes anyway if you have children, because we need to have you file the taxes so that you can list, and it says you have a child, the child is this age, and then the IRS will set it up so that you can start receiving the child tax credit. So remember, file your taxes by May 17th so that everybody gets to access this incredible benefit. I'm joined today by 3 incredible guests to talk about the impact that this child tax credit will have on their families or the families they work with. I'm going to have them each introduce themselves. Bill Taylor is at New Mexico Voices for Children. Joseph Griego has worked with Head Start in San Miguel and Mora counties. And Shansi Salazar is a beautiful single mother living in Dulce and a Hickory Apache Nation member. So Bill and Shansi, say hello to everybody, please.
Hello, hope everyone's doing good.
So I will start with a few questions. So Bill, let's start with the big picture. Can you give us some background on the level of poverty that New Mexico children face and what you see will happen? What is going to be the impact of the child tax credit expansion on our state?
Yes, thanks, Representative. Thanks for helping to pass the law, and thanks for getting everyone together today to understand all that it means for New Mexico. So, you know, of all the states in the US, New Mexico has one of the highest rates of poverty. We have very high rates of low-income families with children. And so we're going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of this. We're going to have more kids and families impacted in New Mexico than most other states. So it's critically important that New Mexico families take advantage of this extraordinary opportunity. You know, before the pandemic, we had 1 in 4, 1 in 5 children who were living in poverty. That's probably higher with the job losses and the difficulty that so many families have had. And so the response of Congress to help our families is particularly important. And hopefully, you know, we went in with a high rate of poverty. It probably got worse during the pandemic. Coming out, I hope New Mexico can do much, much better. And the child tax credit is going to be one of those pieces that makes the biggest difference. I want to just say I'm thrilled that you all made the payments monthly instead of having to wait a year to do your taxes and then see whether you get something back. The payments are going to start flowing in July, and that is going to provide much more immediate help for our families than things that we've done in the past. So thanks so much for being a champion for our kids back home.
I like the fact that you emphasize the benefit of it being monthly, you know, for everyone who might have gotten it, received the benefit of the child tax credit before, you know, you would fill it out and there was just you'd hit a box and then it would either be deducted from your taxes or you'd get a refund. But that would happen, you know, a year later. So you file your taxes in April, you get the refund, you know, in May. So, but that's not how our budgets work, right? We families need to pay for rent, they need to pay for school, they need to pay for school supplies, you know, and so it happens on a monthly basis. And that's what's really wonderful about the changes we made to the child tax credit. Shansi, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what a difference will it make a difference, and why does receiving you know, $300 for a child under the age of 0 to 5, and I think you have a child under the age of 0 to 5 sitting in a beautiful child there who's falling asleep. Tell us what difference receiving a monthly payment for your children will be.
I like that it is set up in the monthly payments because it is hard to budget, especially when you have it all in one lump sum. It seems to go to other places where it's not really needed, I guess, in the home. Now that it is set up monthly, I like that you know that it's there. I've used a lot of it from the pandemic group, the COVID relief money that we've gotten to help myself catch up and get ahead in my bills. You know, pay off a lot of my creditors to help me, you know, in the future, because my daughter's getting into the age where she's going into high school. Set myself up as far as to where I'm not worrying anymore. So that's a big relief to know that it's going to be there and not have to worry about, well, I can't pay this bill because, you know, this bill I need to pay, but I'll pay the like electric next bill. Just trying to, you know, put other bills and needs aside to keep everyday life going. And, you know, with kids, it's hard, especially now that they have gone back to school, the added expenses of me having to drive them to get to the bus. That's added on. I have a special needs child that gets seen up in Denver. So I take her every 3 to 6 months up there. And like I said, just to know that that's there to help me with my extra bills to know that I'm able to do this with them. It's, you can sleep at night. It's not a worry.
So what are the names of your children?
My oldest daughter is Madeline. She is 12 years old. Julia, who is 11, and my Isabel, who is the special needs, is 7, and my little boy Eliseo, who is 1.
Well, I love those names. I will say my middle name is Isabel. So she's my tocaya.
Oh, right.
Joseph, tell us a little bit about what you think the child tax credit and this monthly payment will do for the families that you work with. So as I noted, Joseph, you might tell us a little bit about what it's like to work in the Head Start program. I love Head Start. I graduated from Head Start. I don't think they gave the caps back then, but I loved going to Head Start. The food, I loved eating. All that. That's what I remember is eating, playing, and sleeping. I don't really know what else we did.
Well, it's a pleasure to be part of the panel today, Congresswoman. I think, so I've been with Head Start 25 years. I just completed 25 years in May. What you call eligible for retirement. I've worked in San Miguel County with the West Las Vegas Head Start program. I'm now working with the Mora Head Start program, and also we operate the Colfax Head Start program out in Colfax County. So we've got sites in Mora, Springer, and Raton. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen with this tax credit and in talking with families and my staff regards what it's going to do and the impact it'll have for families, as Bill stated, that the idea you guys did to pay it out monthly, I think means more than getting that large sum and it's gone within a month. Families can now plan in regards to money coming in every month to assist. I think that the tax credit and also the money that has been given for rental assistance and mortgage assistance, light and gas assistance through the CAP agencies such as Help New Mexico is really a benefit to those parents that we work for. I think the piece that's hard to see within Head Start is that you have families that basically from single parents to two-parent household that barely make just enough above the poverty guideline to not qualify for services. I think that, it's just enough not to qualify. And I think this tax credit will help them get to that next level, to make it to that next month. And so pleased to see that. I think the families are grateful for it. I think as we move forward, I think one of the things that we should, I think looking at, and you being involved with Head Start, is how do we take that threshold of the income eligibility a little bit higher? Because it barely moves. And so, but, very pleased for my families that we serve in both Mora and Colfax County. And I know the director from San Miguel County is very pleased with, what this money is going to do for our families.
So you raised, I think, an important point, and so Therese, about the stress that is placed on parents when they have to worry about meeting basic needs. And there have been some interesting and really great studies that show that helping parents relieve that stress of the basics really has an incredibly positive impact on the children and has a positive impact on the children's performance in school. And so I'm going to look forward to looking to see how that plays out with the child tax credit.
Great, because I think that we're going to see that just hearing from families within my program, that when we posted, when the tax credit came out, when we posted it on our website, calls coming in and asking, how do we access this? How is this happening? That they're not worried, at least when in looking into the future, some money coming in additional to what they're already making. And for a lot of our families in northern New Mexico, they live just above that threshold of poverty or right at the poverty level. And for 90% of my families in Head Start and Early Head Start, as you're aware, Congresswoman, is that we're serving the poor of the poor, you know, and they struggle from month to month. And I think this is something that is great to see, and like to see it long-term, moving out past just December 31st, you know, so that we can get our families to that next level and ensure that children aren't suffering in the long term.
So I was going to, you got to a question, you answered a question I was going to have, which is, as everybody knows, I represent New Mexico's beautiful 3rd Congressional District. But by representing that, I can only do my job when I hear from my community as to what's important for them and what should I be doing, what would you advocate that I push for? And you've already told me a little bit about that, right? That there is importance that we have the early childhood education programs like Head Start be more widely available. And so I'm taking that down as that's something to do. The great thing is that the American Families Plan and a bill that I am working on and co-sponsoring and pushing here at the House will do that. Will provide more funds for early childhood education so that those families that are right at the cusp also have the ability to have their children have quality early childhood education. So I will take that down as a something to do as requested by Joseph Griego. But let me throw that question out to Bill. And what do you think are additional policies you'd like to have me advocate for? And I'm going to ask you as well, Cherise, as to what you'd like to see me fighting for here in Congress.
Well, certainly I'm glad to hear you mention the American Families Plan and childcare and pre-K that are proposed in that. And we sure hope they stay in because New Mexico, as you know, we are trying to be a leader in early childhood care and education. I mean, I think we finally understand the importance of those first few years, but it takes a lot of money. And we're struggling in New Mexico. And so more help from the federal government would really, really help to make childcare more affordable for the families. So it's an economic boost for the families, but it's also critically important for those kids so that they have a safe and nurturing and stimulating first few years of life. We love that pre-K and childcare are 2-generation approaches that really help families, the parents, as well as the kids. So that's number one. And then I will just say, you know, with regard to the child tax credit, it would be great if all or part of that could be made permanent. And I know that's expensive and I know it'll be a push, but I think we're going to learn how what a great impact it has on our kids and our families. And so we're hoping that some expansion of the child tax credit could be made permanent.
So we are pushing for that. I will say that I met with President Biden and Vice President Harris in the White House about 3 weeks ago, and I specifically made that request. You know, we are hoping, and we will hope that we can get that through the Senate to make it permanent. We will push for that here in the House. Shansi, I saw that beautiful child of yours wake up.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on what other things do you think would be useful for me to work on your behalf and on your friends and family's behalf?
I really push for the kids, especially in our community. I'm all about the younger kids, the younger generation, getting them involved, especially in like agriculture and things like that, because that's what we do in northern New Mexico. I worked a lot with 4-H and helped try to reach the community like that. having kids now, you really realize what it means when they say, I guess it takes a village to raise a child. And with that, just having resources, the library, a safe place for the kids to go, to know where it is safe, to come and, be themselves and not worry. Just living in a small community with poverty, we do deal with alcoholism and other things like that. And a lot of young mothers, our mothers, they're very young, and it's hard to see the young generation not know how to be moms, to not know how to do it. And that's where the younger kids are losing out. So I think it's just very important for everybody in the community to get involved, and just have resources available for the kids.
I like that, and I know that the library is what's making your connection to us over the Wi-Fi possible, right? Because you are
Yeah.
on a hotspot that your public library provided, so that people who don't have broadband in their homes can actually get access. And I'm really grateful that you positioned yourself and went to all the effort of being able to communicate, with all of us about what's important. I'm very grateful for you to take that time and to find the hotspot in Dulce. So
No problem.
on the top of our list to get that funding for tribal nations, for rural areas. We know it is key. So so that you will be able to get that broadband and get that internet at home. So thank you. I love the way you put it. It's for the kids.
Yes.
And I think, right? And the idea of being able to participate, if you're in a rural area, to be able to participate in the way agriculture is part of our herencia, as well as our economic future. So, I think that is really key. So I am going to remind everybody again, if you're listening, and I want each of you, Shansi and Bill and Joseph, to spread the word about the importance of filing the taxes. I also want to point out that if you're an ITIN filer, an individual tax identification number filer, and you have children, file your taxes, because if your children are citizen children, they will be eligible for the tax credit. And we are pushing really hard to make the tax credit permanent and to make it applicable to ITIN filers, because every parent who's working deserves this tax credit. And as you were talking about it, Bill, you pointed out so clearly, right, that the tax credit, when it's only available, no, and Joseph, about those limitations, that when it's only available to those who, are higher income, it doesn't make as much of a difference. And we really want, and what we really did here was make it available to working families and families who are working but still in poverty because our wages are so low. So I think we've done a great job with that. I'm very grateful to each of you for participating in this today. For anybody who's watching, I'm going to say it again, file your taxes. I always want to point out as well, I Serve You. I have a weekly review that I send out to make sure my constituents know what I'm doing, what bills am I sponsoring, what have I said on the House floor. Sign up at fernandez.house.gov, and I'll send you a weekly review of what I've been doing, because you need to let me know whether I'm doing a good job or whether you want me to work on something else. And I have a team, a beautiful, marvelous team of individuals from throughout my district who are there to help you. So if you have any issues with the IRS, with filing, you need more information, or you have any issues with like a federal agency, reach out to us and we can help you. That's our job. And my number is 505-428-4680. 505-428-4680. My team is here to serve you. So muchísimas gracias a todos. And I know how to say tanjo and how do I say thank you, Shansi?
I think that's for hello and goodbye.
Oh, it's both? Okay, tanjo and adios.